This week I have an illustration project to do for Pentel UK, and I thought I'd take you along with me and show you a little bit of a week in the life of me when I have an illustration project. Their theme is Color My Summer, and they've requested that I do some tiny paintings, and so I thought this was an excellent opportunity to take my little art van and go on some painting adventures. We'll be going to the moors, we'll be going to the sea, and maybe we'll find a little village scene as well. Or maybe I'll just paint something in my garden. We'll have to wait and see where the tides take us. I had a video a few weeks ago where I opened all of the supplies that they sent me in anticipation of this campaign, and I'll be bringing along several of those things. So I'm challenging myself a little bit because I want to complete all of these paintings with only Pentel supplies, minus the paint, of course. But I'll be using Pentel fine liners, and also some of these matte hop pens that they sent, and some of the milky brushes, which I've used in the past and I really, really like. And then of course the other Pentel things that I always use, like their aquash brushes, their mechanical pencils, their click eraser. And I don't know which supplies I'll be using at any one time, so I'm just going to bring them all. I've packed up my different art wraps, and I put them in a bag that I'm just going to bring with me everywhere. So it will be in my van, and I'll bring it home every day in case I need to replenish any supplies. But it just will make things easier to have everything just in one easy bag. So with that said, let's get going. Dartmoor National Park is one of my favorite places to visit. I love its quaint villages that make you feel like you've stepped back in time, and the vast open moorland that is home to wild ponies and sheep and cows who roam freely. It sits in the center of South Devon and is nestled between the Atlantic Ocean and the English Channel. It always amazes me how I can go from the sunny warmth of the coast and within 20 minutes be in the cooler, more windy climate of the moors. It's utterly enchanting. Even today, you can find places in the moors that make you feel like you're the only person on the planet, and yet connected with history and folklore that goes back for millennia. Even the earth feels different here, like you're walking across sponges. The heather and gorse that are dotted across the landscape add a hopeful splash of color across the moors, and it's easy to see how it has inspired artists and authors throughout the centuries. And now I'm one of them.
What do you think, Pops? You ready to go for walkies? Yeah, we'll go walkies.
And it's raining, which I kind of like coming to the moors when it's raining. It just has a really romantic vibe. Reminds me of old novels. It's like I'm in a Bronte novel. Anyhow, we're gonna go for a little walk down to the 10 Commandment stones. And the first time that I saw these was, I don't know, probably around 2016. I was teaching at a school in the moors, and I'd had a really bad day. And so one of my coworkers said, we need to go. So it was the kind of school that had an open door policy where people could just kind of leave, and I didn't have any classes and neither did he. So he drove me the few miles that it took to get here, and it really helped. It completely improved my mood and was so stunning. So it's rainy. I'm not going to paint there today, but that's why I have the van. So we're going to go for just a little walk. I'll show you the stones, and then we're going to come back and do a little tiny painting. This is the view along the valley. And my house is somewhere in the distance over there. And then over here next to these trees is a little bridge with a stone wall. And we're going to cross the road and follow that stone wall to get to the 10 Commandment stones. And even though you're not physically here, I'm hoping that by my taking you here, it will help alleviate some of your stress of your day and lift your mood as well. Lead the way, Pops. Let's go. If you've never experienced a walk on the moors, it's a bit like walking on a sponge. It just feels so nice under your feet. It's like Earth's natural cushion. The 10 Commandment stones are located on the southeastern side of a granite tor called Buckland Beacon in Dartmoor National Park. 382 meters above sea level, it overlooks the Dart Valley and was used as a fire beacon for the nearby town Buckland in the Moor because of its excellent vantage point. It's in the center of a chain of beacons that run across the length of Dartmoor and were lit for all of Queen Elizabeth's Jubilee celebrations, as well as to welcome the new millennial. It's pretty easy to find these stones because as long as you can find that bridge and a place to park, you just basically follow this stone wall. The 10 Commandment stones were commissioned in 1928 by the former Lord of Buckland, William Whitley. He employed a local sculptor named W.A. Clement to carve the 10 Commandments on 2 of the granite slabs at the base of the tor that looked like they were dropped there by Moses himself. It took 5 weeks and was completed in June 1928. Lord Whitley had the stones carved in response to plans to revise the Book of Common Prayer to align it more closely with Catholic teachings and to help bridge a centuries-old divide between the opposing sides within the Church. Because Whitley was a devout Protestant, he naturally opposed these changes, and it's possible that grand actions like this helped prevent them from ever happening. I was told by my former co-worker that there was a minister at that time who used to hold services regularly at the site. Because of the extreme weather on the moors, the 10 Commandment stones have had to undergo a few restorations over the years. The first time I visited the site, you could barely read the inscriptions, but they were most recently recut in 2016 and are now clearly visible. At the top of the tor is a Jubilee stone that was inscribed to celebrate the Silver Jubilee of King George V in 1935. But that one hasn't been restored and is now barely visible. Because of the rain, I won't be attempting to find that one today, but maybe on a future visit I will. This is it behind me, and I apologize because I made a rookie move, which is that I didn't bring a wind deflector for my mic. So I may have to do a voiceover later, but the stones are on the other side, so we're going to walk around there. I've never been here on a day when it wasn't super windy, and I'm doing a voiceover because the microphone didn't pick up everything I was saying. And these are the 10 Commandment stones. It's pretty awesome because you can imagine that they were dropped here by Moses himself. It has such a gorgeous panoramic view. I'm sitting on the perfect rock, and it would be wonderful to paint here, but my paper would never dry. Someday I'll come back here when the weather is better to paint. For today, we'll just enjoy it with our eyes. I always feel so invigorated when I come to the moors. It's the perfect antidote for when you're feeling a bit tired or depressed or overwhelmed. Honestly, just 15 minutes here, it's like my whole soul is reset. I hope someday that you can experience this. For now, let's get back to the car and it's time to paint. with the sound of music. Come on, Puff. Come on. Come on, little boss. Come on, little boss. Come on, little boss. I was getting my lunch out and these beauties just walked right past. And of course I didn't have my camera in my hand, so I missed the best part. This is my first time painting in the van when the weather is rainy, so I have a lot of decisions to make. The view that I really want to paint is behind me of these old trees with just this little strip of the bright green grass shining in the distance. But if I leave the hatch open, the rain is almost parallel headed in my direction. So I'll get soaked, which I don't mind, but my van will get soaked on the inside. And then I don't know how well it's going to dry out in this weather. So that's one choice though. And then the other choice is to maybe angle my car a little bit or just move my little bench seat forward and paint this view that I see out the side door. And even though it's raining, the rain isn't coming in through the side door. So that's an option. But honestly, that view doesn't excite me as much. So I have some decisions to make. I mean, this might be okay. And then I wouldn't get wet and Poppy wouldn't get wet and the van wouldn't get wet. I think we're wet enough after our walk, but that might be the way to go. But let me show you the other one. So this is the one that really calls to me, but honestly, this rain is coming sideways right at me. So it's probably not the best choice, but maybe another day. I've got my power station charging right here, and I've got it down here, charging up my phone. I brought some iced coffee, which is kind of silly, and I still don't have a kettle for my Blue Eddy to make warm tea, but I do have a thermos of warm tea. So I'm just going to get together a little snack. We have more visitors. I think he needs to be in the painting. I think this one might have a different mom and is possibly lost. Are you lost, baby? It's day 2 and I had appointments all day, but it's the only day that I think is going to be sunny. So I'm going to paint this greenhouse over here. I painted it once before, but it was just a little tiny sketch and I thought it was actually quite a lot of fun to paint. So I thought it would be a good subject matter. So we're going to go find a decent view of it. We don't have very much in it this year because we just built it. My husband and I built this in June because our old greenhouse really just fell apart. So I thought it's nice to capture it when it's brand new. And it's also a happy memory of building it with my husband. And now I'll have a happy memory of painting it. The sun is setting behind the greenhouse, but because it's all glass, it shines through. So it's got a lot of interesting lights and darks that I'm interested in capturing. And I don't have a lot of time. It's late in the day, but I think I could hopefully get it done in an hour or two. So we're going to try that. I'm a little embarrassed showing my garden to the world because in past years it's been glorious and this just is not one of those years. It's a year that it's been neglected. But I think there's just beauty in nature and the birds and the squirrels are still enjoying it. So there is that. And the view that I want to capture is something like this. I would like to have just a section of the greenhouse, and I like the way there are all these light values balancing it all the way around. So there's a little bit of light value in the grass and in the greens in the greenhouse, and the bushes, the rose bushes behind it, and a little bit of the fronds from the palm tree. I also like the shadows that are kind of coming towards me. So I'm going to hope to capture all this pretty quickly before the sunlight changes. And because yesterday was the last page in my tiny sketchbook, I'm going to start this one. Yellow is my favorite color, and I love how cheerful this one looks. And I'm super excited to start painting on cotton paper again. And I love that it has the nice texture to it as well. Suffering for my art. had planned to bring you to Teignmouth today, but it's the first sunny day we've had in a while, and it was just a madhouse. I didn't get to leave in time, so there was really no place good to park. And I've had my eye on this little location for a long time. It's along a private road, but I got permission from the landowner to paint here, and just look at this view behind me. It's so incredible. I want to get in some of this reddish orange field, and there are sheep in this pasture with the estuary behind me and the rolling hills in the background, and the sky is so beautiful today. So let's set up. In the distance on the right is Shalden, and on the left is Teignmouth, and beyond is the English Channel. And this is the Teign Estuary that leads all the way down. I've painted before on the other side plenty of times, and I've had my eye on this view for a long time. The A road is right beside me, so there is some traffic noise, but it isn't too bad, honestly. Everywhere I look is a potential painting. I love that view with the fence that's sort of rickety and the trees in the distance. There are breathtaking views everywhere. One of the reasons that I've done this no-build build to begin with is because I wanted to see how I most use the van when I'm actually painting outside. And I found when I was painting in the moors that I needed to pull this all the way against the passenger seat to see out of the door behind me. And once again today, I'm going to need to do the same thing. So that's telling me that I do want some type of a bench seat that goes all the way across, because I can paint out that door or this one. And I'm finding I'm not actually painting outside of the back as much as I had anticipated. So for now, I'll just pull this over here and set the cushions up behind me. And this will be the perfect painting position. And when I'm sitting here, I can look outside of the door and see the exact perfect view that I wanted to paint. And I don't feel like I'm sitting in my car. I feel like I'm sitting in my living room. So I'm loving this little van setup. I picked up this little lightweight blanket at IKEA. And what I'm going to do is use 2 of these binder clips to create a little privacy curtain just behind me, because there is traffic coming by, and I just would like to feel that everybody's not staring at me. So I'll show you how I do that. So I've just folded the blanket in half because that's about the perfect length, and clipped a binder clip along the edge. And then I'm just going to push it between the plastic and the headliner, and that's enough to hold it. I'm not bothered about this little gap here. I could always, if I wanted to do this and be really strict about it, I could probably add some kind of a pin there, but that's totally fine. This gives me plenty of privacy. So I've added one in the front, one behind the door, and then one in the back. And I can remove this one if I want to keep this window open. Here's how it looks when it's all set up. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it across this back window as well, but I thought I'd start out with it that way. I'm still getting plenty of light from the skylight, as well as the windows in the front, and of course the open door behind me. And that window is still open. And from the outside, it looks like this. So it doesn't look like I have anything up at all, but it does give me that privacy from the looky-loos who are driving past and staring in. And even if I get all the way up to the window, all I can see is my reflection and a little bit at the very top where that gap is. But I'm sitting much lower than that, so it's not an issue. I have the back door open for Poppy because she was very hot after our walk, but we've got quite a breeze coming in right now, so I might be closing that sometime soon. And then I've got some of my snacks, my iced coffee, and some extra supplies over here. And then here's the view. And I've taken this little side table, and it's actually really useful because I can just put my art wrap up here, and all of my supplies are easily available, which has made painting so easy. And here they all are together as a collection. It's funny because I thought that this was my favorite, but looking at all three together, I'm really enjoying this seaside one. I think definitely my least favorite is this garden one for two reasons. Well, maybe three reasons. One is because I got stung by a wasp, and by the time I went back outside, the light had changed and I didn't get to finish it. So I had to finish it the next day, and the lighting was different, and it just, yeah. And also it was backlit, and if you're not outside to see the colors in the backlit, it's really tempting to make things a bit too dark and muddy, which is, I think, what I did here. And I also used some other supplies. I used the watercolor pencils, which created a much more vibrant palette than I usually use. And it's fun for a change, but I do prefer the more muted style that I usually use. And I think there's something to be said about mindset and mood when you paint as well, because for these two paintings, I was just in such a wonderful mood. It was a beautiful setup, a beautiful day. I'm loving painting in my van. It's so comfortable, and I just feel like the stresses of the world are not with me when I'm out painting. Which one is your favorite? Anyhow, thank you all so much for coming with me today. If you'd like to see more behind the scenes about my tiny painting adventures and some narrated tiny paintings, check out my Patreon. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. I hope you all have a beautiful day with many happy painting adventures of your own. It's so cozy painting here next to Poppy. She's being a really good girl.